So you've thought about smartwatches or you own one, but they've been plagued with certain issues. For example, charging every night, wearing a bulky watch to bed if you wanted to get sleep metrics. And my big one, you want to wear a smartwatch, but you also want to wear traditional watches, and you can't get your metrics in fitness and health with traditional watches. And last but not least, a lot of times you're paying a premium price for features that you barely use. But what if I told you there's a smartwatch that solves all of that, but for a fraction of the price? Enter the Amazfit Balance. $229, lasts up to 14 days on a single charge, slim, lightweight, and packed with features that you'll actually use. No frills, just function. So I've been wearing the Amazfit Balance for the past several months, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not a brand that I had even heard of until they actually reached out to partner up with me for this video that you're just watching. Let's talk about some of these key issues that I've personally had and how this watch can address it. And make sure you watch till the end, because this last feature I'm gonna talk about really sets this watch apart from the competition. Okay, so the first issue that people usually have, battery life. Having to charge daily is a huge pain point. I remember having my Apple Watch, and even if I had to travel with and stuff, it was like so annoying. Like, I'm like, do I really want to take it with me? Now, with this watch, if you're using it just as a basic watch, you want to just check the time and, you know, just look at notifications and stuff like that, you can get 14 days of battery life. And yeah, that's just not marketing gimmick. Like, I've actually tested it and I was shocked at how long this battery actually lasts. Now, if you want always on display, like I personally like having always on display, then it does cut the battery life down to about a week. Like, I've kept this watch in my collection or by my side table, and I literally pick it up on days where I'm like, oh, I want to go work out suddenly, and then I just pick it up, and I'm always shocked to see like how much battery life this thing still has. Another huge use case factor for this is traveling. Like, can you imagine not having to charge your watches when you're traveling, right? Not having to worry about it or anything, and it'll last you like 2 weeks. Battery life has always been a huge issue for smartwatches, but I think Amazfit really crushed this. Now let's talk about the other issue that I usually have, and that is traditional watches. Now, I don't always want to wear a smartwatch. Like, most of the times I actually like wearing traditional watches, but the problem is when you wear traditional watches, you kind of lose out on the day of metrics, like your steps and all that stuff that you want to maybe keep track of. Like, currently I'm going through rehab for my ACL reconstruction surgery. It's been about a month, and I want to keep track of my steps and stuff like that and how I'm kind of progressing, but I don't want to be like confined to just wearing a smartwatch all the time. So the good thing is Amazfit has like an entire ecosystem that you can kind of pair with this, right? So this is the ring that I'm wearing, and this is also by Amazfit. So having this ring allows you to throw on your traditional watch, not have to worry about metrics, because you also just throw on the ring and you can continue getting all of your measurements. Also, if you're going to bed, for example, I've never been somebody who can sleep with something on my wrist. I tried Whoop, Fitbits and whatnot, even Apple Watches, and I hated it. I don't like having anything on my wrist. And that's why having something like the ring really comes in handy, because you just throw it on, and I don't mind sleeping with this. It's perfectly good. Captures all your metrics, your temperature, whatever you need to capture. Going back and forth between these two has really solved a huge issue with me wanting to wear traditional watches as well. Okay, so the next metric I want to talk about is design. Now, this is something that is pretty important, right? Now look, the Apple Watch design has kind of grown on me over the years, and a lot of times when you think about like smartwatches, you kind of think of that square shaped bezel, but when you think of beautiful traditional watches, the vast majority of people are going to tell you they're circular watches most of the times, and the design of this watch is like right on point for that. It's 46 millimeters in diameter and about 10.6 millimeters thin, which makes this like, it's a really thin smartwatch. So if you wanted something that looks like a regular watch, it's circular, this thing is beautiful. And the thing is, it weighs only 52 grams, so it doesn't really hinder any sort of like, if you want to wear it for sports activities or anything like that. Which brings me to materials, okay? So what exactly is this watch made of? So the bezel on this is actually aluminum, however the back and casing is all plastic. But I'll be honest, overall, actually using this watch didn't feel cheap at all. In fact, it actually feels like a well-made watch, and given the price, I can't complain. Another thing that I do wish that they had done differently is not made the charging proprietary. Like, if it had USB-C, this would have been the perfect watch, right? Now, at the back of the watch in the middle is an optical heart rate sensor. There's also an SpO2 sensor, which will measure blood oxygen saturation, and an internal temperature sensor. The bands are also quick release, so you can literally just jump on Amazon and get any other industry standard quick release bands and throw it on here, which is nice. It's probably one of my favorite features with smartwatches. The watch also has 5 atmosphere water rating, which means you can swim with this watch, no problems. Now, the thing that I want to hone in on is the display. Now, you'd think that something that has 14 days of battery life is gonna suffer from like some sort of like cheap display or something like that. It's gonna be terrible, right? This thing has a 1.5-inch AMOLED high resolution display with 1500 nits of brightness. The same brightness that you're gonna get from an Apple Watch Ultra. And in terms of the actual design of the screen, the animations seem to be smooth once you're on a page. However, I will say this, when you're scrolling and stuff like that, you will definitely notice the lower refresh rate of the screen, which is, I think, how they're probably getting really long battery life. The next thing that I wanna talk about is, what do we actually need? Because a lot of times I find like now we're paying for things that we don't really need, right? So even with smartwatches, right? There's a lot of features that get packed into these watches and price just keeps going up. And I feel like I'm not using most of those features. I mean, I can't remember the last time I went to the App Store for like a watch. And I've been a smartwatch user for over 8 years now. And every single year, I've always only used a few specific features. Number 1, taking calls on the watch. Can the Amazfit Balance do that? Yes, it can, and it does it really well as well. The speaker on this is really nice, the mic is solid, and the mic also allows you to do things like voice recording, so if you want to quickly record some voice notes, you can. Now, the second thing that you can do is check your notifications, so if somebody texts you or you get an email or something like that, then you can go ahead and check that right on your watch. The next thing that I do with my smartwatches is check complications for information like weather, date, fitness updates and stuff like that. For that reason, I love the watch face that I'm actually using on this watch right now because it gives me all of that information and more. Now, other than that, all the different apps and all that stuff, I usually never get into any of that stuff. And if I'm using an app, it's on the phone. It's not on my watch. So it kind of feels counterintuitive for me to like pay for like some of these features and stuff like that in watches when I'm not even using any of them. But for people that do like unlimited customizability and having access to Android and Apple app stores and stuff like that, this could be something to think about because you only have access to the Zepp App Store. However, from what I saw within that App Store as well, you still have options to buy things like watch faces. For example, if you want to, control your camera on your phone or control the GoPro camera and stuff like that, there's an app for that on the Zepp Store. Okay, but look, all of that aside, let's talk about one of the main things why people like going to smartwatches, which is health features. It's one of the big reasons people like having fitness tracking is so that they can, make decisions about their life and kind of see how things are going. Now, these are things that regular watches just cannot provide. So let's talk about some of the wellness features and fitness focused features that are on this particular watch. Number 1, readiness score. Now, this score will basically tell you how recovered you are and how ready you are to take on more training in terms of activity profiles. You can go through all sorts of different activities and workouts. I think there's like 150 different ones that you can select from. And once you're within a workout, there's things to optimize, like an assistant will actually help you do workout goals and alerts and things like that for pace and heart rate zone and whatnot. So from a fitness standpoint, this thing is actually really good. The heart rate tracking, up to my knowledge, has been somewhat accurate. I mean, it's comparable to other heart rate devices that I've used. And even this ring does a pretty thorough job of all of this stuff. So the way that I've personally been using it is I would wear this for like any sort of activities and like gym and stuff like that. And to bed, I will usually wear the ring. But yeah, when I go to sleep as well, the ring does a fantastic job in order to like, track my heart rate, my sleeping patterns and all of that stuff. And I personally have not had any issues with these. Another cool thing is you can actually connect directly to Bluetooth headphones, and you have built-in storage on the watch as well for storing music or podcasts or lectures or whatever. So you can actually leave your phone behind, go on a run, and just listen to whatever that's on your watch. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about quickly was the actual app for your health metrics. This is very important. Going through this app, everything was very easy to read. It's well laid out and it's not overwhelming, right? My favorite thing here is actually having like insights and stuff like that, because a lot of these different apps from different companies will give you a whole bunch of information, but it's like, what do I do with this information? Now, if that wasn't good enough, this watch actually comes with a feature which I think is a game changer for this watch, which is access to a smart assistant that they call Zepp Flow. Now, this is actually much smarter than what we're traditionally used to with other smart assistants in the past, and that's because Zepp Flow has access to AI. What's the difference between an ACL and MCL tear?
An ACL tear affects the anterior cruciate ligament.
Do I need a surgery for an MCL tear?
MCL tears often heal without surgery, but it depends.
What about for an ACL tear?
ACL tears often require surgery, especially for...
What's the difference between an MCL and an ACL tear? It just pulls it up on the web. So you have like an entire article that you can go ahead and read. Not as clean as what we had with the Zepp Flow. But as you can see, it's actually really handy. And what's interesting is you can even use it to create like certain physio plans and stuff. Can you help me track my physiotherapy?
Would you like to view your current training plan or progress?
My progress.
You achieved an 81 physical recovery SOCR in today's readiness, which is at the good level.
The thing is, if you wanted more detailed stuff like training plans, then there's a higher option for you to get actual coaching also built into your watch. So I don't have that feature. However, I do have Zepp Flow, which allows you to do all of these neat little tricks. Can you set an alarm for 7 p.m.?
Done. Alarm is set for 7 p.m.
Can you start a HIIT workout?
Start workout.
Boom, as quick as that. That was actually pretty quick. Impressive, I like that. Okay, so let's conclude on this whole thing. Look, all in all, for the money coming in at $229, I think this thing is an absolute bargain for what you're getting. It really punches above its price category, not to mention the integration of AI and the combo of this ring if you wanted to get that as well. I think Amazfit really sets this ecosystem apart, and the app and everything being super intuitive, and also the ability to take calls. I think that's one of the main reasons I personally got a smartwatch, and just receive some basic notifications and whatnot, and to check some complications. Like, all of that works pretty well on this watch. But all in all, if you're in the market for a smartwatch, I think you might just want to give this a try. All right, if you like this video, then go ahead and check out one of these two ones over here, and I'll see you guys there. Peace.